Hey, how's it going, everybody? Crazy week of Rocket League, and we got some news right before regionals ended up going down for North America, which will be continuing here on Friday. If you guys haven't been paying attention to the ecosystem and stuff, a lot of conversations around NRG, as always. Good, bad, the ugly. NRG always seems to be at the forefront of conversations for North American Rocket League, and they've been doing some interesting things during the offseason. If you guys aren't familiar with the history of their roster during this offseason, we've been seeing a lot of teams kind of try to identify what the perfect mixture of players is going to be when it comes to making a run deep into the tournaments and securing a spot top 4 to go to the major. First, we kick it off with the initial release of Squishy and Justin. Obviously, they bid farewell. They said goodbye. They realized that, hey, we are rebuilding around Garrett. That is going to be the plan. That is the idea. And they tried a bunch of different off seasons. We saw them in the draw. We saw it in Bandits on Wheels, different iterations of what it was going to be. And the first piece of the puzzle seemed to be Mist. They felt like, you know what? Mist, when he's putting in hours, when he's doing his thing, he is still a top 10 player in North America, which I agree with. So you pair that with Garrett and you're like, okay, who's going to be our third piece of the puzzle? What is that going to look like? What are the conversations going to be? And we then saw it was actually Nolly, Calm, and a couple others bringing this new kid, Frosty, that had a ton of potential. And shortly after, they ended up announcing, you know what? Frosty is going to be our starter. That's what we're going to go with. We're happy with that. That is the official signing. And they do. They sign him to the roster. He becomes an official player. He's featured in videos. They do the announcement graphic, all that kind of stuff. And then before things even get started, they part ways with him. And we're like, wait, what? All this effort in the offseason, all this decision, all these tryouts and stuff, you guys go with this new kid. And before we even start 2024, we decide to release the guy we just signed, which is crazy. We then got, luckily from the Chalked podcast, they did sit down and talk with Frosty about it, and he opened up a little bit. And this is in summary. Basically, he talks about how he was pulled into a call with the NRG manager and was like, hey, we're moving on from you. He said, and again, I'm paraphrasing, I could be not exactly accurate about this, but he said that there wasn't any indication that he would be removed. His teammates didn't give him a heads up or speak to him about it. His assumption, or he alleges, that the decision was due to NA going from 6 teams or 5 teams to 4. And because the results weren't as good during the offseason as they would hoped, they wanted someone with a little bit more experience or history or something like that. The catalyst was the lack of major spots. So they ended up making that decision. He didn't seem too upset by it. It seems, I think he's gotten over it. And obviously the player, like Frosty's doing pretty well with Snowmen, so I don't think he's too sad about it, but was released. And then they announced that they're bringing in Toastie. If you guys don't remember, Toastie played for Axel or Oxygen, I think they were at one point potentially. Came in. He's Moses' little brother, which ironically is Garrett's old teammate when he first came to the season with Vex and Orbit in the World Championship. But they brought in Toastie. They played one regional and they did okay. I don't think NRG did all that bad in their first regional. You take a look at their results and how they're doing. They made top 16, right? They're back in the action. That is a neutral result. 2 and 3 if they win one more in that group stage, then they go on to the top 8. Okay, so they're basically neutral with where they're at. At the same time of all this, we were wondering what was going to happen with Dreaz during the offseason. Dreaz was playing with Dignitas. He got moved around and shifted around a little bit. He was playing with like Percy and trying to identify what his playstyle was going to be. And then we got the announcement that he was retiring, that Dreaz is done. Dreaz is like, I'm hanging it up. It's not worth it. All that kind of stuff. Only for us to see on the signups page was that he was the sub for NRG. So he went from being retired and being done to, hey, I'm a sub. I'm here as a backup. I'm here as a worst case scenario. Only for us to find out shortly after, like a week later, that he's actually going to be stepping into the starting lineup. So it's like, what is going on? What is NRG doing? I think if we try to take a step back and look at the timeline, the end of the year, on the 15th, they officially announced Frosty and Mist. Just over a month later, Frosty's released, and now he's part of the Snowmen. So they bring in Toastie a few days after that on the 26th. So on the 26th of January, and then a little bit over a week later, they're like, just kidding, it's Dreaz. I think it's very difficult to find success in a roster when you don't even give the roster a chance to prove it in real time. Like, I think it's going to be so complicated for, like, I think NRG right now, third party perspective, right? It just feels like they're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I know that's just public perception. My insight is more so, hey, I'm sure they aren't happy with the results. They want to be guaranteeing at least top 8. And let's be honest, if you don't place top 8, let alone top 4 in one regional, 2 regionals left to make up for that difference, you don't have time. You have to make an adjustment immediately. And Dreaz has proven that he is capable of being a top 8, top 16 type player in the RLCS. Arguably, I think, yes, he is better than Toastie. I think you can make arguments for both. I think Toastie's also proven himself at times. But when you're trying to build a play style, when you are trying to grow and learn and be familiar with your teammates' habits and capabilities and all that kind of stuff, and you keep changing the roster, I would not be surprised if, yes, maybe they have a little bit of a honeymoon and maybe they perform a little bit better. But at the same time, it's like, how do you expect to build momentum? How do you expect to build familiarity or get anything going when you're constantly changing the player? So I don't know. I don't know if the knee-jerk reaction is just them trying to hang on and hope for something different or try to find a solution. But to me, it feels like they just don't know what the heck they're doing. And again, that's just being hypercritical. But dude, I don't know what's going on with NRG. I think it's crazy for them to make that many changes that quick. And I do think the players that they're going with, they went from a rookie who didn't have the greatest results to someone who has been proven, and Toastie definitely can be a difference maker in series. And it's now going to Dreaz. I don't know if it's going to be lateral or not, but the fact that he said he was retiring, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the right answer. And maybe they've got something. Maybe something's cooking that we haven't seen in scrims, and they're like, you know what? This feels right. This is really good. But I'm very invested to see how this NRG team plays. We're talking about results. If we want to take a look, if we go to NA Regional 2, double elim, they beat a team that we didn't know in top 64. 24 is guaranteed here. They get swept by Space Station, who has been proving pretty solid. A lot of people rate them as like a top 3, top 4 in North America. They drop to the lowers, and then of course, because storylines write themselves, they go against Muffin Men. Squishy, former team, got to play them again, and it goes to 5, and they win. And I'm not saying Muffin Men are bad by any means, but I don't rate them as a top 8 team. So if you're going to 5 against teams that I think, if you're trying to be a top team, and that's not a slight. I don't think Muffin Men is a bad team. They've got talented players, all that kind of stuff. But if you are trying to create separation and you want to think about it logically, if you look at G2s, Gen Gs, how Dignitas has been playing, stuff like that, those teams should be smacking the Muffin Men. If we are talking about the hierarchy and the tiers of what the results have been, it should be extremely one-sided. But to go to 5, and unfortunately we don't get to see if it was big goal differentials, maybe the couple of games were a little bit of a hiccup and then they dominated and they won like 10-0 both games. Maybe a little bit of more confidence instilled. But like going to 5 in that, I don't know. I just don't know if what they're doing is setting them up for success. And at the end of the day, we've seen what happened with Shopify, which we'll talk about in a video later. But like, it is very difficult, I think, to instill confidence and build and grow and learn about each other when you're constantly making a change. And realistically, this is the only one they can really make now. So who knows? If NRG makes another change in the trade window, some concerns. But if they barely won, like Chad is saying next to me up here, it can't get much worse, right? They can only get better as they get more experience together, because they haven't had any from what it sounds like. I don't know, man. Crazy stuff from NRG. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, NRG is a big fan favorite. Do you think they're going to be able to pull it out? Do you think Dreaz is the solution? Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, I've got some massive concerns around this NRG team if these are the types of changes they're making. Either way, that does it for me. Like, subscribe, notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.